What did you hope would happen when you emailed Adam Painter and the other Liberal Democrats?
It's quite simple, really. I had been trying to get a fair outcome in terms of planning and funding consideration for Three Milestone for months and months at that point. Nothing had been forthcoming from officers despite promises. I'd been let down, so it was my last ditch attempt, if you like, to make the certainly the Liberal Democrat members of the cabinet, the deputy leader of the council, people with influence and had a vote, to alert them to the issue and to get them to vote in the upcoming, very soon up and coming cabinet meeting on the papers, which were at that point completely missing out Three Milestone and ignoring the needs of the residents there, and to just make them vote and debate at the time. And whoa, let's take a breath, let's take a step back. We need to consider Three Milestone.
What were the projects that you were trying to get funding for?
Several projects, so 4 or 5. There was the matter of the school, which was already at capacity. The head teacher was very distressed about that. Nobody from the council seemed to realise that the school needed more physical space in terms of a new school hall if they were going to deal with the first couple of hundred families that would be moving into Langarth. There was a lot of anxiety in the school about that. Two sports pitches that had been promised at the Cornwall Stadium for the local football team had magically disappeared from the plans. The team needed sports facilities in Three Milestone. The community centre at Three Milestone that had last been updated in the 70s, which again would be too small, which was already too small to service the present population of Three Milestone, let alone the people from the new town across the road. Car parking in Three Milestone, we would have the people initially, there would be several hundred homes built before there would be any shops, schools or community facilities in the new town. So car parking space, which was already very tight in Three Milestone, needed to be provided, and basic changes to the public realm in Three Milestone, where the connection, the supercrossing from Langarth coming across to the village, there needed to be some sort of bridge. Three Milestone was literally being left out of the loop when you're talking about a new town being built literally yards away, and no consideration for the people who live in the existing settlement, which is against basic planning policies anyway, which is,
Right. So you set out your shopping list and you send it to Adam Painter, but instead of talking to you about it, he forwards it to senior council officials, and you find yourself in the office of the chief executive, Kate Canally. What happened next?
Well, I didn't really know what the meeting was about. So the first thing the chief exec, Kate Canally, said is, we're here today to discuss why your position of the chair of the Strategic Planning Committee is inappropriate or untenable, can't remember exact words, because you don't have any trust in my senior officers. So I was immediately taken aback. She then said that she had seen the email. So what was going on in my mind was, I'm in a lot of trouble here because I have actually accused an officer of wrongdoing in that email in regards to some funding that I thought should have come Three Milestone's way, but actually was going to a faith project, down the road, a long way away from Langarth. So I was immediately on the back foot, but I did point out to her that whoever chairs or vice chairs or has a portfolio holder position at Cornwall Council, that is voted on by councillors. It is not the business of officers, and so it was absolutely none of her business. So we then proceeded to try to negotiate if anything was going to come Three Milestone's way at the cabinet meeting, and we got some provisional agreements in place, but at that point I sort of lost all faith and trust that anything really would happen for Three Milestone.
So I've never before heard of a Cornwall councillor having to use freedom of information laws to find out about one of their own emails. What happened when you submitted your FOI request?
I'm by no means the first councillor who's had to try and find out information by putting in a freedom of information request to their own council. So that's not happened. I needed to find out who sent that email, in what context, and who it went to. You know, did anybody else lay eyes on it? I asked the people that I had included in the email, the Liberal Democrats, on their, you know, because I'd sent it on their private political email addresses, not their Cornwall Council addresses, and everyone said no, wasn't me.
Anyway, bringing it up to date, now you're out of the Liberal Democrats. I mean, I'd be fascinated to know what your relationship is like with the Liberal Democrat Party these days. You're standing for election, presumably against a Liberal Democrat candidate in the 3 Milestone and Chasewater area. What will you be able to do if you're successful and you get elected?
Well, the new area is bigger. I lose Gallowith and I'm running for 3 Milestone and Chasewater. It also includes the Langarth area. There are a couple of things which I think are going to be very important to that area going forwards, and that's why I'm standing. Not wanting to blow my own trumpet, but given my experience of the last 4 years in terms of challenging council decisions and getting the right fair thing done, I know that there'll need to be a councillor representing the people in both 3 Milestone and Chasewater, actually, where there's a lot of pressure for development surrounding Chasewater. That's going to be able to make sure that those multi-million-pound projects happen for 3 Milestone, so that the village is enhanced and resilient to the new town. The people that are going to be living in this new town need fair planning outcomes. For instance, they don't need to be, all the houses are going to be built at the moment with 1 parking space. That's ridiculous. So somebody needs to be there to bang on the table, challenge decisions, get the right outcomes, planning outcomes. And I feel that I'm sort of responsible now for making sure those things happen, and being a councillor that gives people a voice and that won't be silenced. Because that's going to be especially important with the new council, with less councillors representing larger areas.